everybody. Today I want to take a look at Dark Souls 2 and its dead zones, as well as give an anti-deadzone example. Dark Souls 2 is known for using square dead zones, compared to Dark Souls 1 and 3, which use circular ones. So demonstrating that, starting with the camera, uses about a 40% square dead zone for the camera. As you can see, the central dead zone is a little larger than the kind of axis dead zones. These axis dead zones, as you can see, restrict tons of diagonal movement. Just make these bobbing motions and move perfectly left, perfectly right. It's very obvious when looking straight up or down. It isn't until you break into these green regions where you start seeing diagonal movement occur. Another issue with the camera is that acceleration starts very early at about 70% and only along the x-axis. So it's starting at 70% and a dead zone of 40% kind of means that you only have 30% of your stick range of motion to make granular adjustments. So that feels very kind of overly sensitive and clunky on top of all the restricted diagonal movement. Of course, movement itself is more important, and that uses a 36% square dead zone. This is exactly the same size that Dark Souls 1 and 3 uses for its movement and camera. Of course, the only difference is that the dead zone is square in 2 rather than circular. So as you can see just with the camera, this also restricts tons of diagonal movement around the axes. And you have to make very significant diagonal movements before you see any diagonal movement start occurring. If we trace the dead zone, you can see just how scrunched all these diagonal values are. And while you still have access to all, like a full 360 degrees, with how scrunched it is, it can often feel like you really only have 8, especially when making very subtle movements like this. It's very easy to skip over really all the diagonals you have access to. So to address this, on PC there's a fix, and really that's the same fix I'm going to be showing here, just using a TitanTwo adapter. Instead, you basically change the stick input to kind of skip straight over the dead zone. So as you can see here, there are now 2 inputs. One is the normal stick input, the other one's the output. So the one I'm moving right now is the normal stick input, and as you see, I've established a circular dead zone. So once you break out of this, then you immediately counter the game's dead zone. And as you can see, when I'm moving right around the axes, it's countering this restricted diagonal region. So as you can see, subtle diagonal movement is occurring. This is much more obvious when looking straight up or down. If you compare from the previous example, if I'm just hover right around the axes, you see diagonal movement occur instead of having to make very large movements to see that occur. Unfortunately, there's not a very clean way to counter this acceleration jump. As you can see, the turn speed right before the acceleration occurs horizontally is slower than the vertical max, and the vertical doesn't have any acceleration, but you can see that the normal kind of sensitivity is faster than the horizontal. So there's really no a really elegant way to do that. The way I would set it up, you'd end up cutting off your vertical speeds, so that's unfortunately an issue regardless, but you do get full diagonal movement with this solution, and that makes the camera feel better as a result. Movement, of course, is the same exact. So as you can see now, just moving right over the axes, we start seeing subtle diagonals occur. And using the previous example of tracing the dead zone, you can see that if we just skip straight over the restricted diagonal regions, we get very nice subtle angular changes with no giant sections of just 4 directions. And that's about it. So Dark Souls 2 used square dead zones, and you can use a script to correct this. And this is really the goal of these scripts is to kind of function as you would expect a circular dead zone to use, and have it play closer to how Dark Souls 1 and 3 play. So I mean, what's being demonstrated here is basically how Dark Souls 1 and 3 work. So you have full diagonal movement, and the gameplay is a lot less clunky as a result of that. But that covers it. Hopefully this was informative, and yeah, thanks for watching, and have a good rest of your day.